My name is Amanda Slavin. I'm so excited to be talking to you today all about the way that we can deeply engage with the people that we spend most of our lives with, which are our colleagues, the people that we work for, the people that we work with. Work has changed so dramatically. And so it's really important that we have a way of being able to think differently about connection. And so to start, I have a master's in education. I was a first grade teacher, and so I love Mad Libs. We're going to start with a Mad Libs process. If you don't know what Mad Libs is, it's a fill in the blank process. I'm actually going to show you exactly what I mean by this. So, what you're going to do is you're going to go to catalyststatement.com and you're going to fill in the blanks. And you're going to fill in the blanks with as many words as you want. So for who are you, this is the way Mad Libs works. You are not going to fill out I am a. You're just going to fill out what you are. So in this case, for me, I'm a mom, a wife, a dog lover, entrepreneur, author, teacher. And then you're going to do the same thing for what do you stand for and what do you believe in. And you could do as much as you want in terms of who are you. You could do as many things as you want. What do you stand for? As much as you really want, whatever comes to you first. And what do you believe in? And you believe that everyone deserves the right to feel safe or that anyone can make a difference. What do you believe in? And you're going to fill in the blanks. So take a few minutes. You're going to fill this out. And after you do so, you're going to email it to yourself. And in an interactive environment, I would be having you read these out loud. What I would highly recommend is being able to share this with one person that you connect with at this conference. The most important thing about this process and about this experience is that recognizing that we all have so much to offer within our workplaces and within our spaces. Often when it comes to remote work, it's not as easy to be able to see these elements about an individual. It takes more time and energy and effort to get to know people, to get to know what's going on in their lives. I've been a remote worker since 2012, and it is an extremely important process to be able to ask questions other than just how are you? And so this is a free process, this catalyststatement.com. You can use it with team members, you can use it with clients, you can use it with whoever you want. But the reason why I wanted to be able to show this is I'm actually going to be sharing mine after, and I'm going to be talking about how this framing works in deeply connecting with, again, your internal customer, which are employees. So my catalyst statement is as a mom, wife, dog lover, entrepreneur, author, teacher, sensitive soul, I stand for the notion that all human beings should have the opportunity to live a fulfilling life, and I believe everyone deserves the right to be an active participant in the choices they make and to live a life where they are thriving, not just surviving. So obviously, again, I've done this a lot of times and it's quite wordy, but I think that it really shows the type of person that I am. For me, again, being able to introduce myself from this place and come from this place and really always go back to this almost as my GPS. Am I living in this way? And be able to again communicate from this place with the other people that I'm working with and say this is why I'm doing what I'm doing is so impactful. And so we start with our own values and beliefs. We start with the things that matter most to us. And what's really impactful about this process is you can actually also do this for your business. So if you're an entrepreneur or founder, an entrepreneur, you can do this for your own business, or you could even do this for any company that you're working for, and you could see the alignment or even misalignment, and what you can do to create more alignment. So for Catalyst Statement, when we offer leadership and development courses and content, we strive to help people apply our framework to reach their goals, and we believe that everyone deserves the right to live an inspired and purposeful life. And so, again, this is a company I founded. It's a bit easier to see the connection, but it's an amazing thing to start with your values. Start with what matters to you. Start with what's important to you. Not necessarily just the thing you're selling, but the why you're selling it. We call this a lot of different things. We call this a mission statement. We call this our why. But to me, it's a bit more than that. It's this really robust way of being able to frame why you're doing is important to you, and then how it applies to what you are actually doing. So first you identify what your values and beliefs are, and then you can connect with your internal, as I mentioned, I'm going to be calling employees internal customers or external customers from that place. And this was kind of the way that work was before, quote unquote, again, not for me. I've always been remote for a very long time, but Before, COVID happened, this was more of the norm where you could walk down the hall and you could interact with people kind of at a moment's notice, and you were able to get feedback and again read people's body languages in a very, I guess, quote unquote easier way. But that also wasn't working, and I think we took that for granted in a huge way because, you know, 87% of US employees, this was before COVID, are disengaged, which costs about 400 to $500 billion, a year in productivity. And so if it wasn't working beforehand and then everything shifted, we really need to change the way that we're thinking about working, with our internal customers in order to be able to engage them more deeply. And fully engaged customers account for a 23% share of profitability. And 71% of people rank employee engagement as essential to a thriving workplace. So even though 87% of US employees are disengaged, 71% of people rank employee engagement. And so this process of really, again, understanding your own values and beliefs, communicating with your customers from that place, deeply connecting with them in order to be able to increase engagement in the way that I define engagement, is unbelievably important. And work has obviously shifted, as I mentioned, and there's a lot more distractions. There's a lot more opportunity to have snacks. There's a lot more opportunities to work from where, not necessarily just again work from where you live, but live at work. And so we need to define new practices in order for us to be our best selves and also embrace others' best selves. And the big problem that I think we face as a society, and the reason why so many people are disengaged, is that engagement is not binary. It's not just about disengagement and engagement. That is a huge, problem that we face in terms of defining engagement in this way. And the other problem is that, we think that engagement's binary, and we also have so many different definitions of engagement. So within a workplace, I would probably add productivity, but likes, comments, excitement, passion, marriage proposals, there's so many different definitions of engagement. The way that I define engagement, the way I'm going to be talking about engagement, is authentic, meaningful human connection that leads to the granting of time and attention. And so that is that highest level of engagement that I'm going to be referring to. And that can't be binary. We can't go from someone being disengaged, completely avoiding or idle, to having authentic, meaningful human connection that leads to time and attention. And I believe that time is our greatest resource. And so, how are we earning that time in a really meaningful way? So these are the 7 levels of engagement. You start with your catalyst statement. You start with your values and beliefs. You use that as, again, a barometer of, okay, or even a GPS. Am I going in the right direction? And you keep going back to it as you continue to build a relationship with your customers. You never stop being that, again, we use these words a lot in marketing, but your authentic self when it comes to your business and when it comes to you as a human being. You always want to know what makes you special and connect from that place. So I'm going to be going through these levels of engagement and then how you're utilizing these levels of engagement to identify where someone is within these levels, and then how to combat the bottom levels of engagement in order to be able to get to the higher levels of engagement. And most of our lives we spend striving to reach the 7th level, these aligned personal values and beliefs, but we don't necessarily even know it exists. So we're settling for much lower levels of engagement, which is limiting our relationships. And the intention here is to catalyze your passive consumers into active participants. So, how are you changing the dynamic from someone just doing what they're being asked in order to make them an active participant in shaping the business and supporting the business and moving it forward, propelling it forward, and really being an advocate and ambassador for the business? So, I'm going to be describing these levels in a lot of different ways. The left-hand side is very academic, but don't you worry, this whole presentation is really creating an experience that's very much streamlined so that you can digest the information in a way that works for you, for all different types of learners. So how do you actually apply this? So at each level, there are things that we can do in order to be able to increase engagement. So at 1, it's all around making sure that we have the right tools that we need in order to be able to prevent disengagement. 2 is all around preventing confusion by the messaging. 3 is around limiting distractions. 4 is around productivity. 5 is around extrinsic motivations. 6 is around, inspiring someone to set goals, intrinsic motivation. And then the 7th level is this real deep connection, as I mentioned. And it's been broken out into these 3 buckets. So the bottom 3 levels are around the pitfalls, what's standing in the way of connection and engagement. The middle levels are around productivity, how are we maintaining engagement, and then the higher levels are on aspiration. what are we striving for, and how are we also keeping our customers, our internal customers at that place and not taking them for granted. So we're going to start with the common pitfalls of engagement. So this is Stanley from The Office. He is very disengaged, and disengaged is defined as avoiding or idle from the task at hand. And so this is not the opposite of engagement. The opposite of engagement is apathy. This is really something that we can prevent and we can move past. And that's the entire intention of this framework, is to not blame anyone and say, oh, well, they, just don't get it, or they're not good at their job. And that's really, it's really hard to take accountability. It's really hard to constantly say, how can I be better? But this process is at least something, again, that we can constantly go back to and say, what can I do differently in order to be able to, be the best version of myself and connect with internal customers from this place. So at each level, there's an action. So the level to definitions always remain the same, but the actions, the behaviors can differ based on what we're trying to solve for. Then there's questions. Often we come up with solutions before we actually even know the problem. So the questions is making sure that we're really honing in on what is going on here. And then we're coming up with goals. Then we're coming up with what can we actually do to move this forward, to get past where we are. So an action is no one answers an HR email asking for participation in a goal setting program. We use a lot more emails in a remote setting, right? Or Slack, or Discord, or Telepath, or Signal, or Telegram, or Signal. I wish we could use Telepath. All these different things that we use as tools for us to communicate. But there could be a lot of avoiding and idle behaviors in that regard. So the question is email the best way to communicate to employees, to internal customers? And then goal could be establishing a company-wide communication guidelines and letting employees know that they should expect to receive HR requests via email. So being able to, again, really pinpoint the problem and then come up with specific solutions based on what is you are defining as avoiding or idle. And you could do this for, large quarterly goals, engagement across the entire organization, or you could do this around one specific goal, like, trying to get customers on every single pathway to adopt a new HR program. So there's a lot of things that you can use these levels for. The definitions always remain the same. The action is what differs. And then you use this process in order to be able to move forward to get to the highest level of engagement, almost like a game, a game of life. So this is a great movie. It's called When Harry Met Sally. For those of you who don't know it, I will ruin it for you because you will see the ending. And I actually broke out When Harry Met Sally into the 7 levels of engagement. So at each level, you will see their relationship and how it manifests the level, and how it goes from level 1 all the way to the 7th level. So this is the first example.
I have it all figured out. It's an 18-hour trip, which breaks down into 6 shifts of 3 hours each, or alternatively, we could break it down by mileage. There's a map on the visor that I've marked to show the locations where we can change shifts.
Great.
No, I don't like to eat between meals.
So Sally here, she was, she was really trying very hard around, being able to show Harry that she knew directions, and what really I think again happened here is that he was very disengaged or avoiding or idle from the task at hand, if you will. And so what is, this is again very much disengagement, is that it's this scenario where someone is really trying to connect with you, but it's just not necessarily working. And it could be the wrong place, the wrong time. But in this case, they are just not connecting. And so she's working really, really hard to communicate. He's just saying grapes. So, it's really important at level 1, in order to get past level 1, to understand the who, how, and where. The right people, so the right audience, using the right tools at the right time. So actually, before I dive into level 2, and I hope that there's not too many faces that are very confused, I think it's really important to understand that we often bucket these bottom 3 levels as disengagement. But if we have a better understanding of why a person is not doing what we're asking of them, why a person is avoiding or idle, maybe it's the wrong place, maybe it's the wrong time of day, maybe it's the wrong tool. Again, you're using Slack when you should be using email. You're emailing at 2 a.m. when you should be emailing at the times of day that you've already confirmed our working hours. There are a lot of things at level 1, but it's all that could cause level 1, but it's around the tools that you're using, again, and the time that you're using it. So the how, when, and the who. Then we can go to the what. And for level two, it's around, does that make sense? I don't see what you're getting at. I give up. It's around being confused by the messaging. So an action here could be that employees are confused on what to do when they are in the office versus when they are not in the office. They find themselves on Zoom all day in the office and are frustrated. So right now there's a big flex work environment increase, and it is really important that we define what our expectations. Again, our communication. We need to make sure that employees are not confused, our internal customers are not confused by what we are or anything about anything that we're trying to communicate, whether it be our processes, our structures, our expectations. This is all around being confused by the messaging. Question: have I clearly defined and communicated expectations on what in-office work should look like? And then goals: asking team members to identify benefits to working in the office and then communicate the differences to working in office versus at home for flex working environments. Now, this seems like a lot of work, but it's a lot more work for your employees to be confused about what their roles are and what the expectations are and what their jobs are without having clear understanding or framing about that. And so by pinpointing that something is going on here, they're confused, they're speaking, a different language, then we can actually be able to streamline our communication to get them past this point of a pitfall, which is unsystematic engagement. And here's the Harry and Sally clip. You can listen to the song of what level two looks like.
Neither, and I say neither, either, either, neither, neither. Let's call the whole thing.
So I'd say, you say Ida, I say Ida, you say potato, I say potato, you say tomato, I say tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. They are not speaking the same language. They are communicating, but they're not hearing each other. And that's the biggest problem at level two. Once we get the who, the how, the where, and the what right, it's really important that we then figure out this customer journey of what we're trying to accomplish with our internal customers and how we're limiting distractions. So level three is all around frustrated engagement when you're trying to limit distractions. So again, at home, it's really easy to have distractions, a lot, potentially more distractions than in an office setting. Now, in an office setting, you have a slew of different distractions, right? People coming in and out of your office all day, thinking like trying to just like have some space and time to be able to leave the office, but you can't. You're just, there's a lot of things that I think, again, even if you have kids, like you're thinking about your kids, but you can't. There's so many positives about working in a remote environment. But if you don't know how to minimize distractions and create boundaries for yourself in general, it's very difficult to do that in a remote work environment. It's imperative that you learn how to create boundaries for yourself so that you're not just living at work. So an action here is a designer is trying to work on creative work, but keeps getting Slack messages he has to respond to. And so then is late getting the design work to the marketing team. The question: have you developed a healthy way for your employee to create boundaries so they can get their work done? And goal: develop a process that allows for each employee to create their own boundaries, that allows for them to accomplish their work and communicate to their team. So, this is an example where design work might require a bit more of individual, independent time and attention. And often when it comes to Slack, which is this immediacy of response, it's very hard for us to prioritize. What are we prioritizing? The work in front of us? Are we prioritizing, the deadline? Are we prioritizing Slack? Now, often, again, employees have the skill set to be able to understand what is the most important thing that they need to do. But then if they keep getting Slack messages and they keep, getting, it's detrimental where people are getting frustrated, they're not responding. It's very, very difficult in that moment for that individual to have discernment of what is most important. Is it the fire that they're trying to put out right then and there, or is it building the foundation so the fire never comes in the first place? So I think it's really imperative that we not only create, opportunities for individuals to create boundaries, but have settings within work around our own boundary system. Like, if you are doing a design project, you could put a block on your calendar for 3 hours that says that you're going to be shutting Slack off. That's a simple example of limiting distractions. At level three, it's really important that the world is already distracting enough, like what I showed you before about work in general, but also from home. So it's really important we don't create more distractions for our internal customers. So this is when Harry and Sally are starting to, they got past the wrong time, wrong place. They got past the wrong communication style. They're starting to get to, really connect. And then, an unforeseen distraction comes and pushes them to, they're really now at level three.
Sally, this is the greatest. Sally, please report to me. Look at this. This is the greatest. You're going to love this. This is a singing machine. Look, you sing the lead, and this has the backup and everything. This is from Oklahoma. Here's the lyrics right here.
Story with a fringe on top.
Yes, perfect. Ooh. Chicks and ducks and geese better scurry when I take you out in my surrey. When I take you out in my surrey with the fringe on top. Now you
Watch that fringe and see how it flutters when I drive them high seven strutters. Nosy folks will peek through the shutters and their eyes will pop. The wheels are yellow, the upholstery's brown, the dashboard's genuine leather, with isinglass curtains that will roll. What? It's my voice, isn't it? I hate my voice. I know, it's terrible. Joe hated my
It's
voice.
Helen.
Helen?
She's coming right towards me.
How are you, Harry?
So that was Harry's ex-wife. While Harry and Sally are happy singing and getting along and connecting, Harry runs into his ex-wife and it completely implodes the relationship. So sometimes we can't control, scenarios and situations from happening that are causing distractions, but we can limit the own distractions that we are creating and causing within our workplaces. So once you get past the avoiding an idol from using the right tools, right places, right time of day, using the right communication, limiting distractions, you can then start to focus on productivity. And this is really, again, about doing what's asked of you. This is the way that we currently define engagement at this level 4 and 5. So level 4 is, again, doing what's asked of you, structure dependent engagement. So this would be like if I asked the lions from Lion King to say yes, and they said yes because they were asked. It's fairly a simple call and response. An action here could be employees fill out survey that takes less than 2 minutes to complete. The question, how is the company showing the employee that they're listening to the survey responses? Goal, creating a post-survey plan of action and sharing it with employees to let them know how their answers will be used and that their time is valued. So again, it's never settling for what we think is engagement currently because we're striving for higher levels of engagement and connection, especially in a remote environment. You need people to really be at these higher levels of engagement. They need to be self-sufficient and independent and again, support the organization from a cultural perspective wherever they are. They have to be the right culture fit to be able to build that organization with you. And so it's not settling for 4. It's not just settling for what was asked of them. And so that's where the questions here, again, how are we continually moving it forward? So with Harry and Sally, Harry says he thinks that she should wear skirts more, and then she wears a skirt. It's pretty simple. It's really being able to, again, build this relationship. You're doing what's asked of me because now you trust me, I trust you. I've gone past kind of those hurdles and those pitfalls, and now we can continue to build a relationship together. At level 5, it's self-regulated interest. This is an extrinsic motivation. So it's piquing someone's interest, getting them excited around what's in it for them. And in this case, what's in it for Shaquille O'Neal is probably a lot of money for this endorsement, but also tacos. So when it comes to work, there's a lot of things that are what's in it for us as employees, right? We need benefits. We need a salary, potentially a bonus structure. This is all important and foundational. It doesn't necessarily get us to the next level of engagement, which is intrinsic. It doesn't get us to creativity or innovation or again, independent thinking, but it does get us to being a productive person within our work structure. So an action here is employees joins a goals program because there's a monetary incentive. Questions, do employees see the value beyond the incentive? And goal, work with each employee to identify goals that will help their personal and professional development and develop intrinsic incentives together. So how are you using the carrot and the stick to get them in, but making sure that you're building off of that so it doesn't just stay there as the status quo. And here Harry's asked, why he's with Sally and not just dating her, like what's kind of in it for him within the friendship. And he says,
I get the woman's point of
he
view.
gets the women's point of view of things. There's something in it for him. He doesn't have to give that much. The difference between level and 4 is you're asking a bit more from the individual with 5, and so you're giving a bit more. But it's something that, again, is in it for you, and the sacrifice is what you're then getting out of it. It's pretty equal. Once you want to start to have people give more of themselves, it's really, again, now at this aspiration phase, this delight phase, this phase where you're really, again, you're turning that passive consumer into an active participant in shaping your organization. So here, this is Jillian from The Biggest Loser. I'm proud of you because you did it, not because I made you do it, because you did it, Danny, you did it. This is about someone, again, taking their life in their own hands and setting goals to make a difference within the organization and within the work. In action, an employee starts to become a thought leader on LinkedIn in their own time, representing a company with the company offers. How are you supporting that individual at this place? What is the question here? Because how does a company help give this employee a bigger platform? And then goal, develop a 4-series email campaign to your internal employees with this employee as a thought leader with the goal of increasing awareness around positive actions and changes, provide inspiration or ways this action can be accomplished with relevant and specific content and tools. So it's about looking at that individual and not incentivizing them through a level 5 incentive, not incentivizing them through an extrinsic motivation, but starting to show them that you see what they're doing and you're supporting them, what they're doing, to be able to really continue that intrinsic motivation. And this is again around transformation and change. So setting goals to make a difference within your life and others. And so in Harry and Sally, in this clip, you see
You never get upset about anything.
Don't be ridiculous.
he says she never gets upset about anything. So he doesn't feel that she's vulnerable and really sharing how she really feels. And in the next clip,
I need a Kleenex.
Okay.
you could see that she's then really changing and transforming because of her relationship with Harry. And when she says, I need a Kleenex, and she's so upset, he says, okay, he receives her. He makes her feel completely safe based on that experience. And so that's what we need to do for the individuals that are going that extra mile and caring so deeply and making changes, is be able to meet them where they are and support them. And then the 7th level, literate thinking. So at this point, we're at that holy grail of engagement when personal values and beliefs align. And throughout this whole entire experience, every time that you might think, okay, someone's really confused by the expectations of the job, or someone's really confused about the tools we're using, or someone is really distracted by, you go back to that catalyst statement, that business catalyst statement, and you also go back to your own personal, and you say, how can I communicate them from the place that is important from me? How do I go to them? How do I connect with them from my own personal values and beliefs? How do I share with them who I am and what makes me me? How do I understand what makes them them? And how are we connecting to get to this highest level when values and beliefs align? Because we all have different values and beliefs, but there's a way for us to be able to, within a workplace, within a container, for us to find the thing that makes us go to work every day, that makes us passionate about the work we do. And there's a way for, as a company, to be able to support individuals to get them to this place with the company's values and beliefs. So an action here is an employee keeps referring people for jobs at the company. Question, how are you making this person a hero and making it easy for them to share the work they're doing with others? And goal, work with this individual, ask them what their needs are to support them in recruiting their friends and family. Every time someone gets a job they refer, send them and the referred employee a personalized thank you card, potentially a personalized gift that shows your gratitude, and then highlight these stories on your internal blog and share with the rest of the employees. So at the 7th level, you're turning this individual into the hero. You're creating a platform that makes them and amplifying them, their voice, in a really impactful way, because they are at such a high level of engagement with you. You don't want to treat them like a level 5 employee. You want to be able to show them that you see them, that they're received, and that you're grateful for them. And some examples with Harley Davidson, you could Google Harley Davidson tattoos, and there's millions of people that are branding themselves with a brand. And it's because of Harley Davidson's representation of freedom and being an open road, and it's because, again, it's these values and beliefs that the company represents. Best places to work. When you look at the best places to work, this was from a few years ago, you could see that it's not the benefits that are listed on the why. Those are important, those are foundational, but the company is committed to learning and innovating, keen to try new things. Working for this company instills a sense of purpose. Everyone's engaged, invested, and committed to our mission to live healthier, better lives. And then, with the third company, this idea of showing an outpouring of love when someone is going through something. It's about the values and beliefs. It's about what makes this workplace special and unique, and how it connects with those individuals at the higher levels of engagement. Love Beyonce. Beyonce is an amazing example of having 7th level customers. A few years ago, her audience defended her because Kid Rock said something ridiculous about her, and they came to her defense and was putting bees all over his account. And I think that that's a really profound way of thinking about your 7th level customers, that they will come to your defense often so that you don't actually even have to. Your internal customers, your external customers, when they're at the higher levels of engagement and they feel deeply connected to what you're doing, they will be the front line for your organization. And with Harry and Sally, so by the end of the movie, Harry and Sally have, changed each other's lives and transformed each other. They've really connected. They've built a relationship, but Harry kind of messes up, as Harry does, and he needs to prove to Sally that he's not just in it for him. He's not just in it for the carrot on the stick. He's in it for her, and that he sees her, and that he receives her, and that he knows her. And so this is what the 7th level looks like with Harry and Sally.
I love that you get cold when it's 71 degrees out. I love that it takes you an hour and a half to order a sandwich. I love that you get a little crinkle above your nose when you're looking at me like I'm nuts. I love that after I spend a day with you, I can still smell your perfume on my clothes. And I love that you are the last person I want to talk to before I go to sleep at night. And it's not because I'm lonely, and it's not because it's New Year's Eve. I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
You see? That is just like you, Harry. You say things like that and you make it impossible for me to hate you. And I hate you, Harry. I really hate you.
It's really, he makes her feel heard. He makes her feel seen. He makes her feel like, again, at the 7th level, but like it's something that is really unique and special to them. And with your 7th level customers, it is so important at those higher levels of engagement for us to acknowledge the individuals that are doing so much for the organization and make them feel a part of the organization, but really, again, heard and like the hero of the organization. So going back to, again, me and my role and why I do all of this and why this is important to me, because that's what I always like to begin and end with. I'm going to read my Catalyst statement again. As a mom, wife, dog lover, entrepreneur, author, teacher, sensitive soul, I stand for the notion that all human beings should have the opportunity to live a fulfilling life. And I believe everyone deserves the right to be an active participant in the choices they make and to live a life where they are thriving, not just surviving. I hope that this does that for you. I hope that you can do this for others using this framework and this process. I am so grateful to be able to share this with you. And I hope that it allows for you to be able to connect with everyone, your internal customers, your external customers, your family, your friends, and even yourself at the 7th level. Thank you.